Yep, I'm in the right place. Sounded like they took that person through that long tunnel.
You can actually avoid fighting a significant number of the enemies in this stage, such as the ones in this long tunnel. There's also steam in this tunnel, which can easily be avoided depending on when you let go of your swing, or just by using the zip function.
Dr. Connors!
So we still don't know why these lizard people are kidnapping innocent civilians, but we can assume that it's to turn them into more lizard people. Because that's really the only reason he would do that, right? Is to use them for more experiments. This level is a really good opportunity to show off the combat mechanics to their fullest, so I'll try to do that.
Gotta get these lizards off my back if I'm gonna catch up with Doc.
Some enemies are just too big to yank around. Maybe they need to switch to diet soda. I don't know. Anyway, for these big fellas, you can attach a web line and then attack to bring the hurt to them. Okay now. Deal with large enemies by attaching a web line, pulling yourself in to attack.
Mounted attacks can exclusively be used on large or extremely powerful enemies. They're useful for hitting them without getting hurt yourself, but you can also vault over them if you time it just perfectly. You have two options when you mount someone. You can use smaller, regular punches, or you can use a smash attack which pushes them back and shoves you away from them. Now, I prefer vaulting over them and simply punching them from behind, which isn't too hard with these lizard people, but with other large enemies it can be a bit tricky. They're specifically designed so there's a very narrow window where you can actually vault over them successfully without getting hit.
I hope they don't get any bigger than that guy.
If you're just playing through this game normally, I would recommend always using the web mount because it pretty much guarantees that you won't take damage as long as you jump off in time.
It's a little too quiet all of a sudden.
So you might think because of the way this mission is structured that it's the first real big mission, but that's really not the way it works. The linear mission structure you're seeing here is not common at all in Spider-Man 3, and I don't think we'll see it very much after this if I'm remembering correctly. I mean, all of the missions are linear, but this one in particular follows a more traditional game-like structure where you advance from room to room and fight enemies. Most of the missions are not like that. And I think we're actually almost halfway through the game, believe it or not. Almost. I honestly prefer the game's weirder mission structure to this one because although this one is more traditional and easier to work with, it's a lot harder to maneuver in tight spaces like this with the way Spidey controls. Because his controls are tailored to move in a very open environment, so it's easy to jump somewhere you don't want to.
Now, can't let Doc Connors get away.
This corridor has 3 big walls of steam that we need to turn off while we have lizards breathing down our back. But I still fight the lizards regardless of whether we turn off the steam in time, just because. You might notice that when Spidey does start taking damage, he takes it very fast and very hard. I'm pretty sure that's intentional, though you do get a bigger health bar when you get the black Spidey suit equipped. It is definitely possible to turn off all these walls of steam before the lizards reach you, and then just progress to the next one. But like I said, I want to fight them anyway. Hopefully you're getting the idea that even though the combat is not nearly as, let's say, involved as Spider-Man 2, it's still fairly satisfying. It's a lot more simplified as well, to the point that there's no real connection between the battle system in this game and the one in Spider-Man 2. But that's okay, because I prefer that it be new. You can argue about whether the combat system in this game is inferior to Spider-Man 2's or not, whatever. But it is something different, and I appreciate that. This is a different developer than Treyarch, who worked on Spider-Man 2, so you really shouldn't expect them to work with the same design principles. For the combat, I mean. If you want a better version of Spider-Man 2's combat, that's what Spider-Man 3 for the Xbox 360 and PS3 is for. This is something different entirely. Also, you can see what I mean about Spidey's movements being tailored to more open areas. So there's lizard goo blocking our exit, and we want to pour steam into it to destroy it, so that way we can actually move forward. But the pipes are leaking, which means that we can't direct the steam the way we want it to go. You might be noticing these weird cocoon things lying around, and those are what the lizard people come out of. I'm not quite sure how that works.
Webbing 1, lizard goo 0.
So this is the best example in the game of traditional 3D action game design. Unlike the other rooms where there was some sort of slight gimmick.
Whoops. Next I'm gonna do that got your nose game.
And this one is just flat out, if you defeat all the lizards, the door opens. They don't really explain how defeating the lizards open the doors, but, you know, like I said, this entire mission is more based on traditional action game design. Which is okay by me, because the simple combat is really fun for me, especially since the punching sounds are so satisfying.
Don't feel bad. I am pretty good at this.
We finally found where they put all those people they've captured, and we need to get them to safety before we do anything else. I mean, we don't actually need to get them to safety first, but that's what we're gonna do because that's the Spider-Man thing to do. What kind of hero would we be if we punched the bad guys and then save the people? We gotta do it in the right order. Your movements aren't really hampered that much while you're carrying somebody. You can do pretty much everything you could while you weren't carrying them. The only exception is that you obviously can't punch things.
Ooh, soft landing and everything. You rock, Spider-Man.
I feel I should warn you. Heights make me nauseous. You deserve to be knighted, Spider-Man. Do they do that here?
No, they don't, but I appreciate the sentiment. Now stop talking and get the hell out of here. Do you see what's going on?
Keep at it. Practice makes perfect.
Most of Spidey's quips are focused on the fact that he's more agile than his enemies, which I think is appropriate. Man, this sewer is just going to be full of unconscious lizard people, isn't it? Also, I'm sure everyone knows this, but sewers don't look like this. I'm not sure who designed this sewer, but it's special.
Whoops.
Maybe the lizard made some very slight modifications.
I don't really have a name for that move yet. Any suggestions?
Well, this isn't normal. What are human gang members doing down here fighting lizard people in the sewers? Presumably, they didn't just wander down here. They had to come down here by choice. Unless their gang just lives down here, but that seems unlikely as well. I mean, why would you even?
You talk the talk, Mr. Big
So we can see that these human gang members are actually overpowering the lizards fairly easily.
Shirts. You know, ones that say Spider-Man kicked my butt and all I got was this lousy t-shirt.
So we can assume that they're fairly good at combat, at least hand-to-hand combat. Also, this guy has a big spear, so that probably helps too.
Craven! Stop! These are people you're killing. They've been mutated. We need to find their leaders so we can change them back.
that leader you speak of will be the greatest trophy of all. One that I intend to kill without your meddling. These reptiles are a vile plague on this city. But I, Kravenov, the world's mightiest hunter, am the cure!
Craven, wait. What about my Novocaine? Time to speed things up. Move it, Spidey. This is not a drill. Well, actually it is. Faster, Spidey. You know the drill.
So this is a lot like that earlier corridor, except instead of avoiding steam, we're avoiding fire. And there's also a giant drill chasing us and rocks falling from the ceiling. All things considered, it's fairly difficult to get caught by the drill. But more importantly, where the hell did Kraven get a giant drill? I mean, granted, we don't know very much about this version of Kraven, but there's got to be some explanation for this giant digging machine. And also an explanation for why the pipes keep changing textures.
Can't let that falling debris slow me down. Yuck! These walls are covered in slime. I don't think I'll be able to climb them. Not even sure I'd want to. Nowhere to run now, Doc.
You shouldn't have followed me, Spider-Man.
The fight against the lizard can be reasonably difficult. You aren't allowed to swing from the ceiling or jump onto the ceiling because, like Spidey said, there's slime covering it. So the main challenge when fighting the lizard is to avoid his two goons while you take him out. I do recommend equipping the black Spidey suit, but I would recommend that for almost all of the boss fights. The lizard himself is fairly easy to take out. You just vault over him and punch him from behind, and he doesn't really have any defense against that. You could try to take out his lizard henchmen, but they just respawn if you do that, so I recommend going straight for him. Just make heavy use of your Spidey sense so you know exactly when you should be dodging.
Don't think you've won, Spider-Man.
Leaping lizards. And I thought I was acrobatic. This could be tricky. Dr. Connors, wait!